भगवते वासुदेवाय ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय O my all-pervading personality of Godhead. Narayanam namaskritya naram chaiva narottamam devim saraswatim vyasam tato jayamudiraye. Before reciting the Narayana, Acharya Narayana Rishi, the supermost Saraswati, the goddess of learning. Tapraishu abhadreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya bhagavati utama shloke bhakti bhavati nashtiki. The classes of the Bhagavatam. All that is completely destroyed. As an irrevocable fact. Shri Gurave Namaha. Akham karoti vachalam pangam langayate girim. Yatyatapamam vande Shri Guru Dinakaranam. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna. We will be reading from Canto 1 today, which is Canto 1, Chapter 5, Narada's instructions on Srimad Bhagavatam. We are, I don't know, from text, which to which, Prabhu? We're doing 17? 23 as far as I was told. We skip. We can go to 17 if you want. Okay. Prabhuji, please start.
Text 23. O Muni, in the last millennium I was born as the son of a certain maid servant engaged in the service of Brahmanas who were following the principles of Vedanta. When they were living together during the 4 months from the maid's season, I was engaged in their person.
Those followers of the Vedanta blessed me with their causeless mercy as far as I was concerned, with self-control and had no attachment for sport. Even though I was a boy, in addition, I was not naughty and I did not speak more than a quarter.
Once only by their permission, I took the remnants of their food, and by so doing, all my sins were at once eradicated. Thus being engaged, I became purified in heart, and at that time, the very nature of transcendentalists became attractive to me.
Oh, Vyasdev, in that association and by the mercy of those great Vedantists, I could hear them describe the attractive activities of Lord Krishna. And thus, listening attentively, my taste for hearing of the personality of God had increased at every step.
Oh, great sage. As soon as I got a taste of the personality of God, my attention to hear of the Lord was unflinching. As, as my taste developed, I could realize that it was only in my ignorance I had accepted gross and subtle tokens. For both the Lord and I am.
Thus, during two seasons, the rainy season and autumn, I had the opportunity to hear these great soul sages constantly chant the unadulterated glories of the Lord Hari. As the flow of my devotional service began, the government of the Lord of Passion burned vanished.
I was very much attached to those sages. I was gentle in behavior, and all of my sins were eradicated in their service. In my heart, I had strong faith in them. I had subjugated the senses, and I was strictly following them with body and mind.
As they were living, those Bhakti Vedantas, who are very kind to poor-hearted souls, instructed me in that most confidential subject, which is instructed by the personality of Godhead Himself.
Are you?
By that confidential knowledge, I could understand clearly the influence of the energy of Lord Sri Krishna, the creator, maintainer, and annihilator of everything. By knowing that, one can return to him and personally meet him.
O Brahma, Vyasudeva, it is decided by the learned
It is decided by the land that the best the medium measure for removing all troubles and miseries is dedicate one's activities to the service of the Supreme Personality of God, Sri Krishna.
Oh, so that's not a thing of life. To cure a disease which was caused by that very same thing.
We're done, right? Puri?
We have cleared the topic, so continue.
Lust. When all a man's activities are dedicated to the service of the Lord, those very activities which caused his perpetual bondage become the destroyer of the tree of work.
Whatever work is done here in this life for the satisfaction of the mission of the Lord is called Bhakti Yoga or transcendental loving service to the Lord. And what is called knowledge becomes a concomitant factor.
While performing duties according to the order of Sri Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, one constantly remembers him, his names, and his qualities.
Let us all stand the words of Vasudeva along with the center expenses. Pradruna. Aniruddha and Sankarshan.
37, 38, sorry.
Such is the actual state of overshield, in the form of transcendental sound representation. The supreme personality of God is Vishnu, who has no other form.
O Brahmana, thus by Supreme Lord Krishna, I was endowed first with the transcendental knowledge of God, as inculcated in the confidential parts of the Vedas, then with the spiritual opulences, and then with his intimate loving service.
Please, therefore, describe the Almighty Lord's activities, which you have learned by your vast knowledge of the Vedas. For that will satisfy the hankerings of great learned men, and at the same time mitigate the miseries of the masses of common people, who are always suffering from material pangs. Indeed, there is no other way to get out of such miseries.
Thank you. Jana will be focusing on text 23. Okay, Sanskrit first. Aham puratita bhavev bhavam mune dasyastu kasyashana vedavadinam nirupito balaka eva yoginam शुश्रूषाने प्रविशि निर्विविक्षताम् अहं पुरातीतभावे भवं मुने
Dasyastu Kashyasya Vedavadina.
Dasyastu kasyashana Nirupito bharata eva yogina
योगिनाम्
Shushrusane pravashine vivikshitam.
शुश्रूषणे भाविषयीशरीक्षताम्
Aham puratite bhave bhavamune
Dasyastu Kashyasya Vedavadina.
Nirupito balaka eva yogina.
योगिनाम्
Sushrusane pravashye vikshatam.
Aham puratita bhave bhavam mune Nayastu kaschancha navedavadinam
वेदवादिनाम्
Nirupito balakeva yogisha
Alex.
Um, okay. Word to word synonyms, please. I. Let's do it together. Pura, formerly. Atita bhave, in the previous millennium. Abhavam became Mune, Omani, Dasya of the maid servant, too, but Kashyachana, certain. Vedavadinam, of the followers of Vedanta. Nirupita, engaged. Balaka, boy servant. Eva, only. Yoginam, of the devotees. Shushrusshane, in the service of during the 4 months of the rainy season. Nirvivikshatam, living together. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. O Muni, yes, in the last millennium, I was born as the son of certain maidservants, engaged in the service of Brahmanas, were following the principles of Vedanta. When they were living together during the 4 months of the rainy season, I was engaged in their personal service. Okay. I think Rajbala Prabhu has been a long time. Since we can take, I'll tell you when to stop and then we'll go here.
The wonder of an atmosphere such as with devotional service to the Lord is briefly described herein by Sri Narayana. He was the son of the most insignificant parentage. He was not properly educated. Still, because his complete energy was engaged in the service of the Lord, he became an immortal. Such is the powerful action of devotional service. The living entities are the marginal energy of the Lord, and therefore they are meant for being properly utilized in transcendental loving service of the Lord. When this is not done, one situation is called Maya. Therefore, the illusion of Maya is at one dis- dissipated as soon as one's full energy is converted in the service of the Lord instead of the for sense enjoyment.
Okay, yes.
From the personal example of Sri Narada Muni in his previous work, it is clear that the service of the Lord begins with the service of the Lord's bona fide servants. The Lord says that the service of his servants is greater than his personal service. Service of the devotee is more valuable than the service of the Lord. One should therefore choose a bona fide servant of the Lord constantly engaged in the service, accept such a servant as a spiritual master, and engage himself in the spiritual master's service. Such a spiritual master is a transparent medium by which to visualize the Lord who is beyond the conception of the material premises. By,
Yes, last.
By service of the bona fide spiritual master, the Lord consents to reveal himself in proportion to the service rendered. Utilization of the human energy in the service of the Lord is the progressive path of salvation. The whole cosmic creation becomes at once identical with the Lord as soon as the service in relation with the Lord is rendered under the guidance of a bona fide spiritual master. The expert spiritual master knows the art of utilizing everything to glorify the Lord, and therefore, under his guidance, the whole world can be turned into the spiritual abode by the divine grace of the Lord's Son.
Jai. Thank you so much. Om Agyanitmirandasya Gyananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve. I was born in the darkest of ignorance, and my spiritual master opened my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. After my respectful obeisances and it's very important that we chant this mantra today because we're discussing a personality of our lineage. Was very important, and especially in this part of Srimad Bhagavatam, and he'll appear, and appear again and again in various parts. Does anyone know in which position in our lineage does Narad Muni stand? So, who's the first one in our lineage? Krishna, and then Brahma, and then, and then, and then. That was nice. Okay, yeah. So we have a lineage of 32 spiritual masters written in the Bhagavad Gita. Anyone taking initiation or has taken initiation wants to know more about that, or wants to know more about the spiritual lineage can go and check that out. It's a very long, beautiful lineage that we have. Every personality in that lineage can be studied upon and can be given a class upon. And today, one of the most prominent personalities about in that lineage is being spoken about today, who's Narad Muni. So Narad Muni is one of the 12 Mahajanas, right? He is one of the greatest authorities on it, on scriptures, and he's a very interesting personality because he's also an instigator in many places. And in fact, in many Indian reality shows, he'll be shown as this person who comes and tries to instigate things. And I mean, it's shown in a wrong dim light. But Narad Muni is much much more than that. He represents our Guru Parampara, and he represents what a guru's role is. It's very important for us to understand that role of a guru through Narad Muni. And in ISKCON, he's also in the early days of ISKCON, there was a painting. In fact, if you open up a painting of Narad Muni, he's known as the eternal spiritual spaceman because there's a painting of him like this in the space. And in fact, Narad Muni is a very interesting personality in his own, because if you look at his features, the body that he was given, he had blonde hair and he had veena in his hand and all these different kinds of things. So it's not that he had certain kinds of typical features as we see. He was a very different personality, and he's been through different lives. And one of the first life that he's been through is talked about here. Narad Muni himself is giving his example here, as a son of the maidservant to his disciple Vyasadeva, who's perplexed here, right? Yeah, and Narad Muni is the immediate spiritual master. There's no difference. Whatever instructions he gives, it always works for people. His instructions are the best in all situations, in all mediums. And there are various. Does anyone know about any instructions or any instigations that Narad Muni has done that has caused a lot of different things? Any examples that we can get? Yes, Roman Prabhu.
Asking Sir to be on the service of
Correct. He was the Akashwani, or the air from somewhere. Kamsa heard sounds, and then and Kamsa's mind immediately flipped, right? And of course, that's part of the Leela pastimes of Krishna, because then a lot of different things happened, and Krishna was able to, go to Vrindavan and, enjoy his pastimes there, and he didn't have to stay in Mathura. Anyone else? Any other? Yes, Prabhu.
He saw the seed of Bhakti in Prahlad Maharaj.
Yes, perfect. Jai Haribol. Yes, that's a very important example. Anything? Anyone else?
So he basically instigated Rukmani's brother.
Perfect. Yes. I was looking at that example. And he also went and told Rukmini that, and he described Krishna's pastimes, and she was so infatuated by that she immediately decided, I want to go ahead with this. Yes, Prabhu.
He gave the mantra of Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Yes. Haribol. Yes, yes. He gave that as well. Anything else? Is there a council? Yes, Prabhu.
He also appeared in front of Chitraketu Maharaj.
Yes, he appeared in front of Chitraketu Maharaj as well. Any other examples? There's so many. I mean, Bhagavatam has example of the Migari as well, who's the hunter. He appears out of nowhere. Like this, that's the spiritual master's role, right? The spiritual master, sometimes when there's so many people who meet their spiritual masters, um, and you expect it to be like you're very scared before you meet your spiritual master, right? Or like what's going to come out of that outcome, because sometimes the spiritual masters may say some wild thing that you've never imagined that might come out, right? And an instruction comes on to you, right? As I'm sure people who here have spiritual masters, and of course, even there's so many instructing spiritual masters in ISKCON. They must have told you something that must have made you like, oh, I was not expecting that to happen with me. And this is Narad Muni's role, right? Narad Muni is there to almost. There's a term in chemistry. Sorry, my parents are chemists, so I have to get chemistry terms in this, although I hate chemistry. There's a term called catalyst, right? Every reaction has a catalyst in it to speed up the reaction, speed up the rate of a reaction, right? So in any situation where the disciple is stuck, or where a person is stuck, or in their lifetime they are under the illusion, we were discussing about false ego yesterday, right? Where they're under that illusion. For example, in the case of Mrigari, he was under the illusion that, watching that animal die in front of him, is, he gets this kind of sense of satisfaction, and a lot of people even today get that sense of satisfaction. I won't get into that, but he came there and told him, there are karmic reactions to what you're doing here, right? And then Mikari was like, what? I didn't know about this. This was not something told to me, right? So the spiritual master is there to, either trigger a reaction or speed up the reaction. So now, in the case of Srila Vyasadeva as well, which is right now what's going on, he's here to, now Srila Vyasadeva is stuck, right? He's done everything that he had to do. Compile the Vedas, look at the Puranas, compile the Puranas. He asked his disciples to, go and spread the Vedas. And if we looked at all of that, but yet now he's confused. He's written such big scriptures, Mahabharata. We have the Gita, which is part of the Mahabharata. He's written those big, big scriptures. How many shlokas is the Mahabharata again? I'm sorry. 1,25,000. Even after that, he's yet, thinking that what can I do? That after accomplishing so much in life, he's yet worried that, what's going to happen. There are yet people who are left, right? It's like, he's looking at, he wants to cover everybody. It's like our book distributors. Everyone, no one should go. You'll go and cover the signals, and you'll cover all parts, so that no one goes away. No, everyone sees the books and goes. And even if they say no, at least they see the books, right? So he's like, he's also the ultimate book distributor, right? He's distributed Vedas, Puranas, everything now, Mahabharata, and now he's now wants to distribute another book, which is Srimad Bhagavatam. Now that's not come to him in his mind yet, right? It's not come to him in his mind yet. So that's why Narad Muni is here now, to impregnate him with that thought of writing something as great as Srimad Bhagavatam, which is the essence of all Vedic scriptures. Right? Anyone who's distributing Srimad Bhagavatam knows the glories. You keep on glorifying Srimad Bhagavatam, you cannot stop, right? It is another level. And now his spiritual masters, this is a very historical moment, right? Because the conception of Srimad Bhagavatam is coming, right? Like the idea that, oh, maybe I should start compiling all, because now Srila Vyasadeva has seen so much in his life. He travels, he's been through all, eras, he's seen what's going on, and he's the Shaktavesh avatar of Krishna himself. He has the potency of Krishna. So he's seen everything, but yet he's confused, right? you know so you all we in the end, it is the guru who comes and, kind of agyan itimi randa timi. What is, so there's this word here, agyan itimi randasa, timi randasa. What does timi mean? Yes, darkness. And in Sanskrit, it actually means fog, right? Your eyes are foggy. Have you ever seen, like, sometimes people who wear spectacles might know, once you come out of a very cold car and you come outside, it gets foggy, and then you remove it and do that. So, fog, we're covered with fog, and it is spiritual master who cleans that fog. The same thing is happening here, where where he doesn't know what to do. I mean, Narad Muni, of course, indirectly tells him to write about the stories of Krishna, talk about the pastimes of the Lord, but doesn't tell him to, come up with Srimad Bhagavatam, right? So the spiritual master is such a person that he will impregnate, he will, give different, he'll give you the chakshudan diloje janme janme prabhu. So he'll give you the eyes. Anena eva chakshusha. Divyam dadamite chakshu. Like how Krishna gives the chakshu, he gives you the eyes, divine eyes, to go ahead and, think something different, think creative. But he will never give you the answer, right? Many situations, for in many situations, even Prabhupada disciples sometimes were confused, right? Because Prabhupada in many situations was like, yes, this is fine also, that is also fine, right? He's, for example, there's a very famous thing that goes on. Like Prabhupada would say, oh, you should wear dhoti and kurta, have tilak kanti. But also Prabhupada would say, oh, maybe you can also wear a suit, tie, and go as a gentleman. So this is also fine both ways. So a spiritual master will never give you like a direct this, no, yes, you have to do this. But spiritual master will guide you in such a way that you know the answer in the end of the day. It comes within you. And you realize, and then you, of course, thank the spiritual master back again. Right? So again, the same thing is happening here. That Narad Muni, who is the eternal spiritual spaceman, is yeah, he's delivering the souls of the earth. And now he's here to deliver his topmost disciple. Yes, space around him. So he can time travel, space travel, everywhere where he is needed, where Krishna is sending him, he will go to instigate. Abhida Akashwani. So yeah, in that way, Narad Muni is wonderful. And here he gives his own example. We'll now get into his life, right? It's a very interesting life because Narad Muni's life is very important for especially brahmacharis living in the ashram like us, right? He was also a brahmachari. He's been a brahmachari all his life, right? And Narad Muni learned and received, and he came up to this level because of his past, not only his past deeds, but also his karmas, gunas, and also what he did, right? Associating with the Bhakti Vedantas. Who is the Bhakti Vedanta? Yes, he's a Bhakti Vedanta. Why was he awarded the title? What does Bhakti Vedanta mean?
He finished Anta.
Hmm. Yes.
He knows each and everything about that.
Okay. That's true.
What was the ultimate goal of the Vedas?
Correct. Yes, true. Yes. Yes. And one who knows not only the Vedantas, and of course, the ultimate goal of the Vedas and after the Veda. Vedanta means everything after the Vedas. So the Puranas, Upanishads, but also he has mastered the art of bhakti, right? That is a Bhakti Vedanta. And Srila Prabhupada was given that title by an organization long ago. So he associated, like how we read here, although in the text 24, although they were impartial by nature, those followers of the Vedanta blessed me with their causeless mercy. As far as I was concerned, I was self-controlled, had no attachment for sports, even though I was a boy. In addition, I was not naughty, and I did not speak more than required. Okay, so most of these such individuals, show such signs at a very early age. These kind of Mahatmas, Mahajanas, like an example could be Prahlad Maharaj, right? Prahlad Maharaj, although his friends would come call him, want him to play in mundane sports, like killing insects and doing all those things, but yet Prahlad Maharaj would get them back to track, right? Why? It's because these individuals, these souls are made for such purpose, right? And this only happens, it's almost like, this spark is only created when the stones are rubbed together, right? Only by the association of another Vaishnava devotee. I was listening to Hari Parshad Prabhu in one of his class. He was saying, only by the association of another devotee, the touch of another devotee, you receive that, love. Others you won't know, right? Narad Muni wouldn't know what it means to be that kind of ideal boy, ideal Vaishnava, right? But only by the touch of a devotee he could do that. Let me take an example. Okay, what's your favorite? Anyone's favorite sweet here? Rasgulla. Oh, I was expecting that. Okay, rasgulla. What do you think, Prabhu? What is so? If let's say you have never tried rasgulla ever, right? Rasgulla is you have never touched rasgulla, never seen rasgulla, and someone comes and tell you, "Oh, rasgulla, so soft, so nice, very nice, white, and it's very sugary, and it just goes inside your mouth like sponge." Now, what would you think? Would you be able to relish it as much as how much you have eat? Like if you would have, I mean, now you've eaten it, so you know how it is, right? No, right? Like even with anything, with pizza or whatever. So the same thing is with this, right? Now, unless and until one hasn't met somebody who's relished these pastime, relished this hankering for bhakti, relished this process of chanting, relished this path, then you won't be able to relish anything. Right? That's why sadhu sangha is very important, right? You know, I mean, guru, sadhu, shastra. These are the three tenets of our lineage, right? And unless and until we don't equally give importance to all three, then it's not going to work out. A lot of people think that's why there's an emphasis on being there's an emphasis on being Goshtanandi rather than Bhajananandi, right? What does Bhajananandi mean? Going into the forest, into the cave, chanting, which is fine. It's not wrong, right? But unless and until don't have association of other great Vaishnavas, it's not going to work out. Right? So Narad Muni was in that way. Now, there's a very important line in the purport, okay? And the line is that the Lord says that the service of his servants is greater than his personal service. Right? This is a very, very important line. The service of his servants is greater than his personal service. Now, what does that mean, Prabhuji? What does that mean? Any. Yes, Prabhu?
Devotees that come back to the service of the Lord.
Exactly. Right. And that describes and is a one liner for Srimad Bhagavatam. Right? Now, Srila Vyasadeva is taking the teachings of his spiritual master, Narad Muni, and he has applied it to this book and has served devotees by glorifying them. Right? And Krishna will be happy if then his devotees are glorified. Right? So, and there's another line which says, such a spiritual master is a transparent medium by which to visualize the Lord, who's beyond the conception of material senses. Right? So, devotees, the spiritual master is a medium for you to realize that. As I said, the touchstone in text 25 of the same chapter, it is written in the first line of this purport that Srila Prabhupada writes. It says, pure devotion is as much infectious in a good sense as infectious diseases. Right? For many of you here, you're sitting here today because you couldn't go back to that life that you were living before. Right? Could you? Could you imagine yourself living in the same conditions, going to the same place, meeting the same people? Oh, you can imagine yourself, Prabhu. So, can you? No, right? So nobody can imagine themselves doing that again, right? Because this devotional life is very infectious. The love of the devotees, the love for the deities, the love for service, is this hankering comes only from devotees. Right? Love for prasadam comes only from devotees. That's why so many people steal prasadam. Right? This loving exchange only comes from devotees. That's why, I mean, this our acharyas have, the Goswamis have in fact, given this in so much detail. One of our Vedas, the Vedas for us is books like Nectar of Instruction and Devotion, because those kind of books and those kind of detailed analysis of loving exchanges between devotees is something that is of very essence to us, and that is what the spiritual master does. Okay. Now, it's very interesting. This one thing I wanted to say before I end is that Narad Muni was born in the family of maid servant, right? Usually in the scriptures, they would follow this kind of system where, I mean, if you're born in a Brahminical family and all, and then you would become an acharya, sage of that sort. But Narad Muni was not that. He was not born in a very bona fide family, in a lineage where things were already being passed on down, and practiced by various people. He was not born. He was born to a normal maidservant, but that maidservant had served different Bhakti Vedantas. That maidservant, his mother, had served different devotees of the Lord, right? That's what mattered, right here. And in this age of Kali Yuga, that is what matters most, right? And there's, I think, a very important shloka that we read from chapter 4 in Bhagavad Gita, text 13, right? Chaturvarnyam maya srishtam gunakarmascha vibhagasha tasya karataram apimam vidheyakataram avyayam. Translation: according to the three modes of material nature and the work associated with them, the four divisions of human society are created by me. And although I am the creator of the system, you should know that I'm yet the non-doer, being unchangeable. Right? So there's one very important line here. Guna karmashta bhagasha. Right? Guna and karma. These are the two deciding factors. Right? Now, because of good karma, Narad Muni was born to his mother, and because of Narad Muni's mother's good karma, he was able to receive that kind of an opportunity. And of course, his gunas, right? You can see as a boy in text 24, you can see they already saying he was self-controlled, no attachment for mundane activity, and he was not naughty. Right? I mean, it's not bad to be naughty. Krishna was naughty, but he was not naughty, right? And he did not speak more than required. These are qualities of a sage, right? These are qualities of a brahmana that he already had inculcated even before his ceremonies to become a brahmana. There are different ceremonies that you have to become a brahmana. So this is guna karma, right? So even in this age of Kali Yuga, our spiritual masters have given us this kind of order of Devi Varnashrama, where there are individuals who have received the opportunity to become brahmanas, to come to that level of understanding the scriptures, to come to that level of guiding others, and that is through guna and karma. All of you here are sitting because of guna and karma. Because of your karma, you're here also, and because of your gunas, because of your hankering for Krishna, you're here. There's a very, very, very nice example that a Prabhupada disciple gives. Was that one time when he was in Vrindavan, and he had gone to one of the temples in Vrindavan, and one of the Goswamis was very happy with him, right, with that disciple. because he was just singing very well, or he was just happy to see a white bodied person in an Indian temple with tilak shikha. I mean, most of the Indians are happy, right? So the Goswami blessed him, said that I bless you, my dear child, that in your next birth you take birth in a Brahminical family, right? In your next birth, and you take birth in a Brahmin family in Vrindavan. And he was happy, and he went back and told Srila Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada, I got this benediction from a Goswami that I should be receiving birth in a Brahminical family. Srila Prabhupada told him gravely that go and tell that Goswami that I pray for you that you take birth in this Hare Krishna movement in your next birth. Right? It doesn't matter nowadays because everyone is of Shudra mentality. Everyone, even the Brahmanas, you know. Even if you go, like, if you come, people see people coming here, even they may call themselves so-called Brahmanas or Kshatriyas or Vaishyas or whatever they want to call themselves. But they may not have the same qualities, right? Because in the end, there's a very famous verse that comes from the CC, right? From chapter 13, it's text 80. Naham vipro na charanapati napi vaishyo na shudro. Naham varnisha na graha patirno vanastho yathirva. Kinto prodhya nikila paramananda purnatma bedir gopi bhartar pada kamalayor dasa dasanu dasaha. Lord Chaitanya says that I'm neither a Kshatriya, Brahmana, Vaishya, Shudra, neither a brahmachari, householder, vanaprastha, or a sannyasi. I only identify myself as a servant of the servant of the servant of the lotus feet of Lord Sri Krishna, who is the maintainer of the gopis. He's like an ocean of nectar, and he is the cause of the transcendental bliss. There's no other reason. And Narad Muni also has the same personality. He's lived through multiple lives, guided many individuals, instigated many things, has done a lot of comedic fun things. But that is a spiritual master, right? The spiritual master goes above and all to guide us in all different possible ways. And he comes in our lives and impregnates us with a divine torchlight of knowledge. Okay, Hare Krishna. Please forgive me for any mistakes. I was told by Monil Prabhu, what time Prabhu you told me to give this class? 6:45. And then I was confused and I asked him at 7:05, am I giving class? Because I told him, can you ask someone else? He said, you're giving class. So yes, if there are any reflections, any pointers, any feedback, yes, Prabhu.
There's also this pastime which we have Prabhupada and you already shared.
Oh yes, no, I didn't share. Please share. It's a very important. No, yeah, no, you can share. It's okay. So I know it in the summary. I can just say that, right? Because there was this moment where Srila Prabhupada was singing and dancing, and it was a very ecstatic moment when Srila Prabhupada went into ecstasy. And people asked, what happened, Srila Prabhupada, and Srila Prabhupada said, Srila Prabhupada was looking there. And they said, Srila Prabhupada, why are you looking there? And he said, you don't see? Narad Muni is just standing there, with all the demigods and dancing with us.
I think it was also that in between Hare Krishna chanting, he started to sing.
Narad Muni Bhaja Veena, yes, yeah. Why is he singing that? Exactly.
He was smiling.
Yeah. So it's a very beautiful song. If anyone wants to sing, we can sing that in the end. If do you all want to sing that?
Where
Sorry. Yes, Prabhu.
I also really appreciate your class. And you mentioned this point about uh, Brahmin, Kshatriya, and that CC says that ultimately service to Lord is beyond all this.
Hmm.
I don't, these are very practical things needed to run a society.
Correct.
But I don't know within our hearts do we really operate. I remember when I moved into the temple, I was labeled Kshatriya, this and that, so many things. Well, when I speak to Maharaj in my conversation, Bhaktiman Maharaj, he actually gives me a completely different perspective.
Hmm.
He notices possibilities in you.
Hmm.
Because you see, you have Brahminical values.
Hmm.
You should work on cultivating them. Instead of labeling people, oh, you're coming across this, that. Oh, and even to themselves, ourselves, like people like to imagine, like, I'm actually a Shudra, like I'm a Brahmin. Like, it feels very odd, takes you away from. And these things are important.
Hmm.
But I really like that you mentioned it. I believe that we should do less of a labeling to
Correct.
people here.
That's true. There are two things, Prabhu. Just a small thing to add. is that, of course, everyone has a dominant nature, a dominant psychophysical nature that they may attest to. And that is for you. Congratulations, you know your nature, right? And now there are different scriptures. There is even books that, for example, there's one book by Mother Urmila, it's Career Dharma. You can follow the book and also find out what career path is perfect according to your psychophysical nature. It's a wonderful book if you're confused in your career path. So that's one thing. And in ISKCON, I think around 99.99% of individuals are preachers. Even if you're a garland maker to cook in the kitchen, you're a preacher because you're influencing someone else's life, right? So, for example, I can give an example with Rohan Prabhu. I remember he was saying that it was Dwarkanath Prabhu who was a very, very big influence on his life. But Dwarkanath Prabhu is not on the streets. He's cooking inside for the deities, right? But because of that, Rohan is sitting here, right? So most all of us here are brahmanas in that way, because we all are teaching here, but we all have a psychophysical dominant nature according to which we work.
Sorry,
Yes.
because also it's very difficult to judge other people's
Exactly.
because when we were coming back from Montreal, because for some reason we met a fantastic police officer. So by his occupation, he is a Kshatriya. Right? But if you observe his nature, he had Brahminical qualities.
Exactly.
He was softer than a softie to us.
Exactly.
Right? So how would you make out whether he's a Kshatriya or a Brahmin?
So,
And with Talakan, when I was taking Talakanda Prabhu, I was like, how can I work while being a Brahmin? Talakanda Prabhu said, after giving advice, he said, well, your Varna would be that, a Vaishya or whatever, but your ashrama would be Brahmacharya.
correct.
So there's so many ways you can look at it. I feel like you should do an in-depth understanding and study of it.
I think every individual here, because so the spiritual master actually guides you in this process as well, right? That's why you had a sort of clarity from Maharaj, from Kalakanda Prabhu as well, and from different individuals that you take guidance from. So it's very important to identify those individuals who you take guidance from. For many individuals, it's your ashram leaders or maybe Maharaj as well. Sit down with them and also analyze what can work according to my psychophysical nature. There's so many people we know who are not working according to their psychophysical nature and are in fact troubled, right? Are troubled. They are not able to manage life. So that's very important as well. So it's very important to seek the guidance of spiritual master while doing that. And varnashram is important for devotional life. We'll talk about that later on. Yes. Anyone else? Yes, Prabhu.
So don't judge me. I didn't know much about narrative. Thank you so much, Daisy, for telling about it. Also, for the whole time, this song was on my mind. Like, now it's going to be my it's my favorite song. And then now I realize its value and its importance. So thank you so much. It was very easy to understand. So,
Okay. Do you want to sing? I don't know if you have time. Yes, Shriyanshu Prabhu.
Yesterday, when we were discussing, like it was mentioned, like if you keep doing devotional service, that you can't do the act.
Mm.
So, like you mentioned, the Varnashram, right? Like somebody's like by action he's Kshatriya, but actually they're Brahmana. So, what do you think? Like, if somebody is into Krishna consciousness all the time, then would those because for a Kshatriya they're all like it's like for us we have to keep fighting, right? Like there are always circumstances where we have to like show up. Right. So if somebody is into Krishna consciousness, that do those things don't act on that person? Like, what do you think? Like,
It's a good question. So, as I said, that verse, right? I Naham Viproch and Gopi Bhatter. So that verse, in the end, our highest goal should be Krishna's dasa anudasa, which means the servant of Krishna. That is our highest goal, irrespective of varna, irrespective of ashrama. Doesn't matter, right? We are, in fact, the Bhakti Yoga, path of Bhakti Yoga is such a path that any varna, any ashrama, any person can achieve, so, not liberation, higher than liberation also. It doesn't matter irrespective of that, right? And once you're in Krishna consciousness, you can be of any varna and also you will be preaching. You will be talking. So honestly, it doesn't matter in the end of the day. But why is varnashram important? Because now in this material world, you're discharging duties. And unless those duties are not discharged in the right way, then it'll affect your devotional service, right? Unless you don't know how to discharge your duty in the most happy possible way, you will come home and remove the same aggression that you were, the same, aggression you're feeling outside. That I'm not able to do something right. You will come and remove it at home. You will come and remove it on your chanting, and then your chanting becomes unattentive. So, so that's very important. So it's a good thing that you should keep with yourself. But it's very nice to analyze. It's a very interesting topic. Yes, Ruby.
I like the point when you said that uh, you give the example of stone, two stones to create
Fire.
fire, sparks. Like if that was not associated with devotees, it becomes us.
Mm.
So we would have went nowhere.
Yeah.
without it. So yeah, bring that out, the quality, then you would then feel that.
And that's why we emphasize on like so many devotees coming, visiting, take association. Some ashram leaders are running behind. Don't go to sleep in the afternoon. Come and take association here, right? There's a reason why there's so much importance of association. You don't know who's coming. What you may judge them according to what they like, like old person coming and sitting. But then what they have to say is a different thing, right? Very important. Yeah. Yes, Prabhu.
Actually, speaking about spark reminded me of Ashri Kapoor.
Fan the spark.
And spark.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I titled this, I have notes and I titled this class, Association is the Key. So, it's actually the key because without association, we are no one. Um, Also, I had a kind of a question, like in Gurkul, Gurkul is talking about how one should utilize one's full energy in the service of the Lord.
Mm.
And if that is not done, then we can So, what about people who are working outside? Are they, in Maya?
That is also service to the Lord. If you're working outside, it doesn't mean that you're not serving the Lord by working outside. Right? That is, you're discharging your duties. And if you, as I said previously, if you don't work outside, if you're not discharging your material duties, it's going to impact your devotional life. Right? It's going to impact it very badly. And it's a practical thing, right? You cannot just, become a mendicant. Today, I leave everything. I'm going to the Himalayas. Right? If you do that, you'll get one back from world, from family, from people, from everybody. Right? You cannot do that. You have to be. There's a reason why we run this society. It's a society, right? We are not mendicants living in a far-off world. We are in society. We are part of society, and we're changing people's lives. We are not meant to be in like a small hidden place just doing what we like doing. Right? It's very important. Yes, Prabhu.
They are actually the groups are serving the servants of the Lord, who is sannyasi,
Yeah.
brahmacharis, and non-workers.
So they are so unless I mean there's so much how is this temple working, Prabhu? Because of people working outside, right? If people were not working outside, this temple is not easy to run. The government is not giving us money to run this temple. Yes.
Can I add something?
Yes.
So, in Bhagavad Gita, I don't remember, I think it's chapter 13 where it's mentioned like you will dovetail your work and it would be like renunciation of the work, or maybe like if you cannot do anything
Yeah.
like keeping Krishna the center, then in the end, like you can just give charity, like that's the. But
Yeah. Dovetailing your work, that's it. I mean, this movement is that, right? Food, dovetail to prasadam. Song, dovetail to kirtan. Clothes, dovetail to devotional clothes. Whatever you like doing, you dovetail it in Krishna's work. If you have money, if you feel that you want to give it for Krishna's work, give it. You know, anything and everything can be made Krishna conscious by the touch of a devotee's hand. Okay. Right.
When we were
Sorry, yes.
when we were reading Govardhan Leela, that's when the purpose it was said that Indra's service is to be like something like that. And that's when it hit me because when rain happens, even the criminals get the same rain. So is it to say that but that's his service to Krishna, that he's dispensing rain. So maybe those who are working outside, if they don't use their Lakshmi for any service, maybe they are, but if they use it, they are already high.
Yeah. And even let's say you're working outside and you have a family, you're serving your family, you're serving Vaishnavas in your family, future Vaishnavas in your family. That is the biggest service. Right. Yeah. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki, Narad Muni ki. Jai.